suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious minds.
Cannot go wrong with 1970s old bloated Elvis. That song rocks. Oh yeah, get some horns. Oh yeah. Oh, Elvis, you're not alive. You're not around anymore. I'm not a huge fan of yours, but that song, like Hunk of Burning Love, is the bomb. Okay. Before we go into the new review, I wanted to clear up this noun clause deal so that we know. All right, so this old boy right here, number 3, this is from our last exercise, is a noun clause. And it is the subject. Forget the fact that it's subordinate. That loses its power. It is the subject of is. Hence, we don't think of it as a subordinate clause. It now just becomes the subject of is. Hence, you have an independent clause. So anytime you have one of those situations where there's just one subject verb, or actually, sorry, just one verb outside of the noun clause, you know, that's the only other verb in the sentence besides what the verb is in the noun clause, that sentence will always be independent. Particularly if the noun clause is acting as a subject. But the noun clause could just as well be a direct object or a predicate nominative, you know, it could be over here somewhere. And it's just always going to be independent. So hopefully that clears up my own suspicion. I thought that's the way it worked, but I was having some second doubts, guessing whatever the heck I was having when I did the last lecture. Okay, I don't. Let us move on to review 2. Really simple. Look at the sentences, break them down into their components, the types of clauses that are within, and then write in the lines next to the little abbreviations for what type of sentence it is. I can show you, well, there are the abbreviations. As long as you know, it doesn't really matter. There's 1 through 7. Pause it, come back, and I'll show you the last, looks like 3 or so. Okay, there are the last 3. Do those. And then let's cover our answers. Go ahead and pause it. All right, so here we are. Number 1. You should have recognized, well, you should have recognized probably the comma rule first. And although is a subordinating conjunction, so we go wada bam. Number 1, adverb clause, and then the rest is an independent clause. We have a complex sentence. Yeah. Number 2, this is the only verb in that sentence. So whenever you just have one subject, come here, you rascal. Whenever you just have one subject-verb pair, like right here, it's always going to be simple. That sentence is an independent clause. Yes, indeedy. We have an independent... Here's what I really want to cover. Right there. Okay. Independent clause before a conjunction takes a comma. That's a rule. When you have an independent clause before a conjunction and an independent clause after a conjunction, you will always see that comma used. You see one subject-verb pair, bridges were not intended, and a second subject-verb pair, people consider. 2 clauses, both independent. That bad boy is compound. I see, let me not do that. I see one subject-verb pair. Would go well. Sorry, you got the extra prep phrase there. One subject-verb pair, that is always simple.
Sophomores with the last name A through Z who have not reported to the LGR
Number 5.
this morning, please do
Adjective clause, modifying those. That's subordinate. Those take both usefulness and beauty into account. That is independent. That is complex. Number 6. There's a nice easy one for you. Adjective clause, nicely splitting up bridge and was. So you have a subordinate clause and you have an independent clause. That is complex. Now we have a not only but also thing. Whenever you use not only, you also have to use but also. But it's still, stop that. Oh, pox on your family, you dumb highlighter. Of course it's the highlighter's fault. It can't be mine. Stop it. Anyway, let me just talk on while I'm having these errors. There we are. Even though you have the not only and the but also, it's still this rule. Comma before conjunction, and you only have 2 clauses. It was subject-verb pair. Brooklyn Bridge was. Now, what the not only does is it messes with the subject-verb order. That was, of course, should be over here. But still, 2 subject-verb pairs, comma before conjunction, compound sentence. Okay. Even before it was completed. That jumps out to me as a, because of the even and the before, that jumps out to me as a adverb clause. Then we have 2 other subject-verb pairs. The bridge was recognized as an artistic triumph. That is independent. It quickly became a favorite subject for painters and photographers. That is independent. 2 independents, 1 subordinate, compound complex. Oh, this is nasty. All right, let's deal. This is nasty. That were developed by the designer of the Brooklyn Bridge. That is an adjective clause modifying principles. Then what we have are bridges, and not built, but employ. Now, why is built not a verb here? Are the bridges doing the building? They are not. For it to be a verb, the bridges have to be doing them because the bridges are the subject, right? This boy is a participle. It's one of those verbs that looks like a verb but behaves like an adjective. Built during the 20th century is a participial phrase acting as an adjective describing bridges. You're still going to include that in this clause, but you might have been messed with the fact that you thought this was a verb and that you thought this was a verb. Ultimately, what it comes down to is 1 subordinate clause here in the highlight and 1 independent clause, so you have a complex sentence. And finally, 10, I see 1 subject-verb pair, 2 are, and that means always simple sentence. Okay, number 9 was a little tricky, but the rest were pretty straightforward. Hopefully you did really well here. We've got 2 reviews down and I think 3 to go before the big quiz. Any questions? Tweet, you know the deal. Take care. I'm sneezing. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I wrap tomorrow, although by the time you hear this, it will have been many days in the past. I'm babbling now. Bye-bye.